I don't want to jump around too much here, but getting out of the Marine Corps, especially after, just the crazy workups we did, the high op tempos, during that time, I mean, a complete other shock. And I tried so hard to almost turn off the Marine in me.
Hmm.
And that was, probably the wrong thing to do at the time. So really now I'm kind of jumping back into things, reintegrating myself into the coolness that I once had going on.
Well, say more about that, Chris. Like, what did you feel was going on in your world that made you want to drop down from sixth gear into third gear, or whatever, whatever language you would use to describe that?
Yeah. So ultimately, third Marines out there in Kenya, we were one of the first to stop deploying over to the Middle East, which was tough for a lot of us. After that deployment, we really wanted to get back out there. A lot of us had buddies in 3-5 who just had probably the craziest deployment during that Afghanistan war. We wanted to go back and, not get some revenge, but, kind of have our guys' backs from that. And yeah, they told us, you guys are going to Japan for your next deployment. And that hit a lot of us hard. We decided, most of us, this group, we ultimately got out after that 4 years and didn't quite want to do that peacetime. We're going to have your rooms cleaned every single day and not the adventure that we all wanted to do anymore. So a lot of us pivoted out of the Marine Corps at that point, and I think it was a big change, a change that a lot of us weren't ready for. You're around a bunch of rowdy Marines 24/7, high op tempo, shooting machine guns every day. And next thing you know, you're dropped back off in your hometown. No one has any idea what you just did, what you went through, what you're used to doing. And it was tough. A lot of us, kind of revert, we drink a lot in the Marines, and unfortunately you get out and you're still doing it, but you don't have those Marines there with you anymore. You can get to some dark places.
Yep.
And I was fortunate enough to have a really good roommate, a couple of them at the time that kept me on track. But yeah, it's really difficult.
Yeah, it can be dark So, for a lot of Marines. Or they can have a lag.
What's
So
that?
that could be really, really hard. That transition for a lot of veterans just definitely can be dark.
Yeah. And I think you guys kind of touched on it in a podcast with Frank,
Right.
talking about the tribe. Wasn't until a lot of us read that book where, that light bulb went off. Like, we need that tribe, and we didn't have it anymore. There's been a lot of them, but 1 Million Steps by Bing West. I don't think I've ever read a book that touched me, the way that book did. It's just absolutely a wild story. I was fortunate enough to go to Machine Gun Leaders course after that deployment with those guys, several of those guys in the book, hearing their stories. It's, man, just crazy. The acts of heroism, just the things you'll do for your brothers to your left and your right. And you'll definitely read the book. It'll blow your mind what they did for each other out there.
You got all that structure with the Marines and then not. That must have been a quick whiplash. Talk about, maybe we can move into the
Very,
mental health
yeah.
aspect of the conversation now. Like you had a whiplash and then there was a little bit of a darkness and then you recovered. And then recently you found the VA and you're talking to your buddies again, which is great. Walk us through what that was like.
Yeah. Yeah, it took me a while to realize, it's okay to ask for help when you need it. Luckily I have an awesome wife, and over the years she's pushed me to seek that mental health help. And, I never either, not that I didn't think I needed it, but I just didn't think it was a thing we did. Wasn't something we ever talked about. But yeah, getting out of the military, I know a lot of us, and I think Josh, you could probably relate. It's just a culture shock. And, again, losing that tribe, sure, they're still out there, but not having them every single day, 24/7, keeping you that structure. Losing that is a shock that I don't think any of us were prepared for. I was fortunate enough to have awesome family and friends to just keep me on the right track. I know a lot of guys didn't have that, the military. And I think that's something the Army and Marine Corps is probably very similar as, we're a bunch of dudes from completely different backgrounds. I don't think there's one guy with the same background as you there. They're from the Bronx. You got some, corn-fed dudes from the Middle East. We've got the Cali guys, we had Marines from Alaska, Marines from Mexico and Peru. It was crazy. And so just all these different people, coming together and then Yeah, we leave, and some of us, have a really good support group, and a lot of us don't. I was fortunate enough that I did, and it was still extremely difficult for me to be mentally healthy, to be physically healthy, and to be where I needed to be. So it struggling to get by, but then seeing my friends who didn't have that support, and they're really struggling. And next thing I know, I have a wife and a kid, and it's tough because I'm trying to raise this family, and my buddy over in New York, like, he's struggling. My buddies in Ohio they're having a really rough time. You see them falling into drugs and not getting the help they need. And I look at that and I think, well, I'm doing okay. I'm keeping my head above water. Turns out though, I wasn't. Like, I could have been doing a lot better. I could have been talking about things, seeking, that mental health help. I think a lot of us too, because it's what we've heard and it's what we always hear, like, oh, the VA sucks. Like, the VA isn't good. Like, you're going to wait years to be seen. It wasn't until I started actually, using the VA and those benefits until I realized, like, wow, like, the VA, maybe it's different in other places, but the VA here in Portland's pretty good, and there is help out there, and I think once I realized that there is help, and I started talking to some buddies, and they're like, yeah, we go to the VA too. We talk to, counselors and therapists, psychologists, and they help us, and, they give us tools to navigate this world. And I'm thinking, really? You guys talk to a therapist? I had no idea. A bunch of machine gunners. No idea you guys are talking to therapists. But yeah, the help is out there. It's scary at first, but once you jump into it, it's really not that scary. And it's actually pretty cool. I think there's a lot of good that I can get out of it. And I'm honestly listen to your podcast too, Miles.